Good morning. It's October 24th, and this is To My Liberal Friends. And if you like the podcast, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. I want to go to the old nursery rhyme that we all used to sing as a children. And I'm talking about Old MacDonald. But today it would be something like this in the political world. Every outlet has a poll, E-I-E-I-O. And on this poll, another one leads, E-I-E-I-O. With a poll here and a poll there, every outlet has a poll, E-I-E-I-O. This is how we all feel. We're inundated with polls, and every day they seem to tell us something different. Yesterday was no different. Here are some of the polls from yesterday. The Wall Street Journal has Trump at 49 and Harris at 46 for +3 for Trump. CNBC has Trump at 48 and Harris at 46, so again, Trump at +2. Now TIPP has Harris at 50 and Trump at 47, so now Harris is at +3. Now those three were all national polls. In reality, they mean nothing, since a popular vote is just something we argue about when we don't like the Electoral College numbers. Then we go to the key swing state polls from yesterday. Pennsylvania, according to the Franklin Marshall poll, has Trump 50 and Harris at 49. Up in Wisconsin, using the Emerson poll, Trump has 49 and Harris at 48. Same poll in North Carolina has Trump at 49, Harris at 48. And the Marist poll in North Carolina has Trump at 50 and Harris at 48. The Marist poll has Trump at 50 to 49 in Arizona, and in Georgia they're tied at 49. Now these are all polls from yesterday, and they change every day depending on who's taking the poll, and I have to assume the news cycle the day the poll was conducted. All of these polls, I have to add, are within the margin of error, and so it remains an extremely close race. But there's one factor that has to be considered. Throughout his political career, Donald Trump has outperformed polling. 4 years ago at this time, Joe Biden had a 6-point lead over Trump in Pennsylvania. When the final results came in, Biden won Pennsylvania by a razor-thin margin of just under 1%. Now, if you have Trump even tied at this point in the race in Pennsylvania, then you have to believe Democrats are very concerned. Pennsylvania has 19 electoral votes, and that means if you lose Pennsylvania, you have to win 2 more of the swing states to make up for your loss. No wonder both campaigns are so focused on the Keystone State. In Pennsylvania, blue-collar workers are tightly bound to former President Donald Trump, and white women enraged by the end of Roe v. Wade are flocking to Vice President Kamala Harris. Black men are checking out, and Latinos are sliding rightward. Counties and constituencies that weren't in play a few years ago suddenly are. Who actually turned out in a state that was sided by 1 percentage point in the last 2 cycles? It's the stuff that campaign operatives have nightmares about, and they try to hunt up new votes to shore up their own base. It was not a positive sign for Harris when Senator Bob Casey, who's locked in a tight Senate race with David McCormick, did not even show up at a campaign event Harris had in Erie County. Casey has even embraced Trump's tariff policies. His campaign launched an ad last week that described him as, quote, an independent. That's news to most people. And how he bucked the Biden administration to protect fracking and sided with Trump to end NAFTA. Of course, Bob Casey also voted with Biden well over 90% of the time. It does not help Harris that she lacks the ability to clearly answer questions. David Axelrod, former Obama advisor, said on CNN that Harris goes to word salad when asked tough questions. She does not have a clear answer. She starts waving her hands and saying things like, come on, and laughing. As I watch both campaigns get into the closing stretch, I see 2 diverging strategies. Trump is reaching out to the average American, witnessed by his short time working at McDonald's, and then later that evening attending a Steeler football game. He has met with hurricane victims in North Carolina. He's on the go each and every day. Harris, on the other hand, took the day off to prepare for the CNN town hall. You should read that to get briefed by staff on canned answers to memorize so that she can answer questions. And she's resorted, unfortunately, to a message of fear. By that I mean she's no longer talking about what she would do as president, but seemed focused on attacking Donald Trump and calling him a threat to the nation. She calls him a fascist and a threat to democracy. It's not resonating with voters, and she said it so often, they now tune her out when she brings it up. Now, I mention this because a Washington Post poll, decidedly pro-Harris outlet, asked voters in swing states who they deemed a greater threat to democracy, and the results are not what the Post expected, and so they've sort of downplayed that poll. When asked whether Trump or Harris, quote, would do a better job of defending against threats to democracy, 43% picked Trump while 40% picked Harris. But that has not stopped Harris and her surrogates on the campaign trail from making this point over and over, calling in former Trump staff to buttress her claim. But in the end, Voters seem more concerned about their own economic future, and they trust Trump more on those issues, and that's why I think Trump will win Pennsylvania and ultimately the election. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.